Welcome back to the Friar Talk podcast and YouTube channel. For today's episode, we're going to be talking about two guys that are kind of going in opposite directions right now in Eric Hosmer and Jake Cronenworth. We're going to be going over the fall of Eric Hosmer after a very, very hot April, and how Cronenworth is slowly but kind of surely coming back to who he is, and then just had that kind of an explosion of a series against the Brewers. So first off, let's talk about Eric Hosmer. Chase, how you feeling after April Hawes has died down?
I never believed it as much as I wanted to. Like, you looked at his Baseball Savant page and you're just like, this guy has a 3% launch angle, and that's just ground ball city. I knew it wasn't going to last because every single time he hit an RBI, it was like a weak ground ball that barely missed the shift, barely missed the player. And now we're kind of seeing his luck has ran out. If you guys haven't noticed, Eric Hosmer hasn't been hitting in the last 15 games. In his last 7, he's hitting 111 with a 111 slugging and like 186 on base percentage. He hasn't walked a single time in the past 7 games. And he barely hits ground ball singles. I don't remember the last time he's hit a ball in the air. It's kind of rough. It's having basically another hole in your lineup at first base. His defense has been all right. You can argue, okay, well, he's a better defensive player than Luke Voigt. Is that really what you want to go for? Being a better defensive player than Luke Voigt and having no bat in the lineup, really? You don't walk anymore. I mean, it's Eric Hosmer. We've kind of expected this. We always know that Eric Hosmer goes off at the beginning of the season. I don't know what it is, but it's happened the last couple of years where Eric Hosmer goes off and everybody starts believing in the hype. And then, June, July comes around and Eric Hosmer is back to 240 with a 600 OPS because he doesn't hit the ball in the air. And all he does is swing at breaking stuff low and in and grounds out to the second baseman. On the other hand, Jake Cronenworth is finally coming around, which is a great thing to see. That Brewer series, he had a great game, had a clutch 3-run shot. He's starting to finally look like he's comfortable in the plate. He's hitting the ball for power. He's getting doubles to the gaps. He's just hitting and seeing the ball a lot more. His defense hasn't changed. It's always been great. It's just finally nice to see him finally more comfortable at the plate. He's hitting for power. He's getting those doubles. Once he comes around, it takes a little bit of weight off Machado. I mean, he's always been an integral part of this lineup, and him getting hot right now with Tatis on the come is going to be amazing for the team.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun while it lasted with Eric Hosmer, right? April Haas is definitely a god. He's definitely something that, he looks like a MVP candidate, all-star kind of guy through April, and then it all kind of falls down. And our title's pretty cool. It sounds like a Star Wars movie. If you haven't gone to watch Obi-Wan Kenobi yet, it's pretty fucking sick. But you look at Eric Hosmer in his last 7 games, like Chase mentioned, it's actually a little worse now after yesterday. 107 average, 107 on base percentage, essentially meaning he hasn't walked in the past 7 games at all. I think he has around 6 strikeouts in the last 4 games. Then you go ahead and you look at his Baseball Savant. You see that his barrel percentage is lower than it's ever been. He only has 8 barrels on the season. Exit velocity is lower than it's ever been. Max exit velocity is right there with the lowest it's ever been. Launch angle, second lowest it's ever been. Sweet spot percentage, everything is almost lower than it's ever been. So definitely not a good sign for Eric Hosmer. Really nothing else to say, though. I mean, you kind of knew what to expect out of him. A really hot start, but a heavy downfall from him. That's kind of been the routine for Eric Hosmer, unfortunately. Outs above average is still pretty high, but it's definitely getting lower and lower. Like, it's still high, I would say, but the amount that it's falling, it's very concerning considering he had a really good start at first base. I don't really know what else to say about him. It's just very unfortunate because Luke Voigt is definitely hitting his kind of his ass off right now. He's fantastic lately, and then and he plays first. He doesn't play good first, but he plays first. And you have another guy who's just his lineup there. His bat is possibly the weakest one in your lineup right now, especially the last 15, 20 games. So I don't know. We're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to see what happens with him. Is it gonna be? Might he be explored at the trade deadline? He honestly might again. I really don't think he's going to get moved because we saw how hard it was over the offseason, but you're definitely going to see him get explored at least. But then you go ahead and you look at Jake Cronenworth. Let's talk about a bright spot. Last 7 games for Jake Cronenworth, he's only hitting 222, but he has over an 800 OPS. He's getting on. His on-base percentage is 323 the last 7 games with a 481 slugging percentage. You're starting to see some more power. You're starting to see him get on base a lot more. And then you start to see that, yes, he's striking out quite a bit more compared to last year. He only struck out 14% of the time. This year it's at 22, but it wasn't that long ago. It was almost at 30. So he's starting to strike out less. Is it still a lot? Yeah, but you're starting to see some more progress. You look at his base on ball percentage, it's very similar to 2020. It's actually better than 2020. I mean, he's actually looking a lot better, I think. So it wasn't a matter of him having to change any mechanics, him having to do anything different in his at-bats. It was just starting to find some holes, starting to hit for some power, and he's finally starting to do it. Power is finally starting to go up around the league, which is a really good thing to see because it was way, 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 way down. We actually just made an episode on that on the balls and how power has been down across the league. So I don't know what happened there. You could say it's weather. You could say they changed the balls. Who knows? But Jake Cronenworth starting to come around. There's a couple guys actually starting to come around, but we just want to talk about Jake because he was kind of the centerpiece when it came to like, oh, we should trade Jake Cronenworth. You can get a lot for him. He's not gonna keep it up. He's having a really down year. And yeah, he was, but it was like, you just gotta be patient, man. You gotta be patient. It was only like 50, 60 games into the season. So with time, he's gonna keep coming around. He's gonna keep being good.
Yeah, and I'll actually start off with Jake Cronenworth just because you brought that up. That it was like, let's just be patient. On Padres Hot Tub, we had Craig and John on here before, but in their episode today, they were saying that apparently Cronenworth kind of around like the clubhouse, like during games and stuff, has been like verbally like, oh, I'm almost back. I'm getting close. Oh, almost here. Like, give me, I'm gonna need a few more reps. I'm gonna be back into it. And basically, like over the weekend, he's like, all right, like I'm good. Like I'm here. And he did strike out 3 times yesterday. It's 1 game though. That's the thing. So like we saw him look a lot better. He's also a guy. I mean, we've talked about this. We talk about this every time when like Jake like kind of slows down. He's susceptible to slumps. He's always been like that. He's a pretty hot and cold hitter, but honestly, like most guys are hot and cold hitters in the entire sport. Like that's kind of everyone. So it's not anything like I think he's gonna bounce back. His numbers right now, you look at him compared to Hosmer, he's way worse, but you look at his last month compared to Hosmer's last month, and you're like, well, Hosmer has 13 hits over, I think it's the last like 3 or so weeks. And 10 of those hits are singles. 3 of them are doubles. He's only driven in 2 guys. And this is over like around like 80 at-bats, I want to say. That's a lot. And I think the difference is like, yeah, we're praising Cronenworth, right? And like he's having a slump. So why aren't we just saying like, oh, Hosmer's having a slump? Because Hosmer does this every year. He starts out super hot. Oh, Hos is back. And then he completely falls off the table. I don't know why that is. I mean, we see that like his footwork is still terrible at first base, though he has been better defensively this year. Like that's very true. And the numbers will show that. Like you look at his baseball savant, like he's in like 79 percentile, I think, at first base, but he was also 100 or like 90 something the first month. Like, so it's been falling. We've seen him make some really bad plays. Machado had a sick play the other day, and Hosmer missed it. And it was just like, it just kind of adds up. And I know it's not like an error on Hos, but he misses a lot of picks. And what I feel like we're kind of seeing is like, he might be coming back down. Basically, my hope for Hosmer is, can you just be all right with the glove? And can you have some hot streaks where you hit a little bit? Like that's, I don't have high expectations for him anymore. But I just like, you can't be completely useless because over the last month, he's been a pretty much completely useless player. And that sucks because he was one of your catalysts. Him and Machado were your catalysts in the first month of the season. So it definitely hurts a lot. It's cool to see Jake coming back. I mean, Luke Voigt has been on fire with the bat lately. Chris has looked all right. We talked about these guys a little bit, but Jake is the big guy that I think we were expecting to be one of those guys again. And him getting hot right now. Isaac, I think you were the one that said it right before Tatis is coming back. Dude, that could be huge. And we'll know more about Tatis later this week, I guess. If he's good, then it's like 2 weeks after like Thursday, I think it is, that he should be back. So shouldn't be too far away, but having a hot Jake Cronenworth would help that a lot. So hoping Jake Jake keeps it up, hoping Haas provides something, man. Like it's just been rough over the last little bit. So we'll see how it works out. But anything else you guys want to add on these two guys?
Yeah, I got a question for y'all. So if Haas continues to slump like this for like the next month until Tatis gets back, do you guys move Haas to the bench, move Cronenworth to first, and then Kim to second? Or what's your guys' solution to get something out of Hosmer? Because at that point, I don't know if it's worth starting him.
I don't think Kim is the solution. I really don't think Kim is the solution. I mean, he had a cool 2 weeks. Other than that, he's been a really bad hitter. He's almost the same hitter as he was last year. Is he better than Hosmer? Yes, he's doing better than Hosmer for sure. He's just not a solution. It's like you're barely upgrading. You're upgrading by just the tiniest bit, and I don't think it's worth it. Granted, Eric Hosmer deserves less at-bats. Most definitely deserves less at-bats. You can plug in Luke Voigt at first. You can plug in Jake Cronenworth at first to have Kim hit at second. But absolutely, he deserves less at-bats. But the solution, I believe, is not to give ha-seong Kim consistent at-bats. It's more like switching on and off between ha-seong Kim and Eric Hosmer, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you can put Kim against a little bit more lefties when you take Haas out. Maybe you do that then. You bring in Cronenworth there. You give Haas some off days. You can move Voigt to first a couple times. But I do think that like when Tatis is back, like you'll see that sometimes for sure. And especially if Haas is playing like this. But if Haas now the big question is Haas super deficient from a defensive standpoint? Because if he is, then okay, then you move Cronenworth to first. Because like I know people don't like Cronenworth at first because they're like, oh, you're taking away a lot of his value because he's such a great second baseman. Yeah, it's true, but like it's making the team better. Isn't the goal to make the team better? Like the goal isn't to maximize one guy. The goal is to make the overall group of guys the best. So if you're plugging in Kim at second and Cronenworth at first, that's the best defensive infield in the league. Like I guess when you have everyone healthy, because we've seen when Tatis is not healthy, it gets pretty bad sometimes. But if they're all healthy, like and Tatis is playing how he did when he was healthy last year and when he was healthy in 2020, he was a really good defender in those times. So yeah, you have a pretty stacked infield, but you can't do it like every day because we've seen Kim getting at bats every day. He's not the best hitter. He's a utility infielder. Those were my expectations for him. So I think a lot of people like, and I think we were looking into it, and he looked better. He did look better early on in the year. That's kind of disappeared a little bit. Like the stuff that we were like, oh, he looks better against fastball. Like he's kind of getting blown away. He looks really overmatched in some of these at bats. So kind of falling back to earth. Maybe he's just slumping a little bit. Maybe he's going to bounce back, but the sample size isn't huge on him. And then you're kind of seeing the same issues he had last year arise right now. So it's just kind of tough with him. But that's what I'd say to that. But
And then one more. Would you guys consider a trade for Trey Mancini and Austin Hayes just to get rid of Hosmer? I doubt the Orioles take on that contract, but it's just an idea.
Depends on what we'd have to give up, I guess. I like the idea of getting Hayes and Mancini, of course, but if you have to give up like a heavy prospect capital, then I don't know if it makes the most sense. But when you look at the player return, yeah, it's good because you need an outfielder, and Mancini can hit for some power. And it's a good question. I don't know. I think we're gonna have to see another. No, you really don't have to see much more from Hosmer. He sucks. But it's quite unfortunate what happened with Eric Hosmer because honestly, this year kind of except for launch angle and stuff, it was like, well, he's starting to find the holes. He's starting to hit the ball a little harder. But then you look at it, he actually wasn't hitting the ball much harder. Yeah, but we don't know what's going to happen there. Like I said, I do think they're going to explore trading him. I really do think they're going to explore trading him again. I really just don't think it's going to happen.
yeah, I pretty much feel the exact same way, Isaac. Like I just don't think like nobody wants him. I think it's maybe a team will be like, hey, throw us some money, give us a couple solid prospects, take on someone that has a contract similar to Haas. And then it's like, so it's kind of a wash for us, but like we're gonna have him the next 3 years, but we need your help a little bit financially. Maybe something like that could happen, but that just makes it hard because like then you're giving up prospects and eating money and taking on a guy that has a decent sized contract too. So it's kind of like we know the Padres' issues in the rotation when it comes to free agency next year. That just makes that even look a little bit more scary. So like that would be like my big concern there. But I like the idea. I definitely like the idea.
I'm kind of with you guys there. Do you guys anything else?
No. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode. So thank you all for listening. The fall of Haas and the rise of Cronenworth. Like Isaac said, a Star Wars title.
Dun, 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 dun.